One of the best arcade experiences that you could have back in the 90s were definitely racing games because, they were just awesome. Sitting in the cockpit of a car and playing high-octane racing games like Virtual Racing, Daytona USA, and Cruis'n USA. Those were just experiences that you had to be there in that time frame to fully experience just how special of an event it was. Of course, as time has gone on, the thought of a new arcade racing game is usually regulated to smaller titles because for some reason, the simulation style of the genre has definitely taken over when it comes to racing. And while I do love Gran Turismo and Forza games, I've spent a ton of time on them, sometimes I just want to sit down, hop into an absurdly fast racing experience, and just have fun. Cruis'n Blast originally released in the arcade and I never played it because where the hell can you find an arcade nowadays? But was then announced to be coming to the Nintendo Switch as an exclusive this September for $39.99. Honestly, I was pretty interested to see just how much fun a true arcade racer can be in 2021. So is Cruis'n Blast kick ass or does it suck ass? Let's find out. The story of Cruis'n Blast is a surprisingly deep one. Dominic Toretto enjoys the adrenaline of streetcar racing and his fans treat him like a rock star. After a blazing encounter with the ruthless Johnny Tran, Dom decides to take Brian, a newcomer to street racing, under his wing. Dom's sister Mia sees something she likes in Brian too. Trouble is, neither of them realize he's an undercover cop, and Dominic and his rival Johnny Tran are both the prime suspects in a case involving dirty money and big rig hijacking. Wait, that's the Fast and the Furious. There is no story here. It's Cruis'n Blast. You sit down, you race, you try to get on different racetracks, and you try to finish in first place. Now, there's a variety of single-player game modes that the game has to offer. There's Cruis'n Tour, Classic Arcade, Time Trials, and Single Race. Cruis'n Arcade is the arcade racing course, which basically has you going through the 5 different courses as they would be in the arcade. Time Trials, of course, you're just racing around on the tracks trying to set the best time, and a single race allows you to pick which track you want to race on. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Cruis'n Tour is definitely the meat and the potatoes of the game though. You basically pick a difficulty and you unlock more difficulties as you clear previous difficulties. There are 6 tours that you actually encounter in the Cruis'n Tour, with 4 races each, and basically you just try and finish in first place in all of these races. Now there's bronze, silver, and gold rankings that you get based on where you place. In order to unlock all of the tours in a tier, you have to get gold, meaning you have to get first place in all of the races, so you'll probably be revisiting these tracks a few times within the Cruis'n Tour in order to finish in first place. At its core, there are really just 5 baseline courses, but the tours add variants to them that make them all feel really unique. So in some races, you'll be having to avoid cops in like a cops and robbers style situation. The Dino Tour has all these dinosaurs hulking around the track, causing all this devastation and chaos. The UFO Tour has these big ass UFOs trying to take you out and destroying the environment you're in. Now, because of these things that happen within all these courses, they definitely feel a lot different than the vanilla courses found in the arcade mode of the game, which of course are the standard arcade racing courses. Now, like I said, essentially they are sort of the same, but all of these variants and all of this crazy stuff happening around you definitely gives them a feeling of a different course, and it definitely impacts the racing experience you have as well. The racing in the game is pretty much what you'd expect from an arcade racer. At the start, you pick your car and you get onto the track. There's a bunch of different cars that you can unlock that we'll talk about later, and some things that aren't even really cars as you've seen in the gameplay footage. You have a limited turbo boost that you can use, but you can buy more of the turbo boost when you pick your vehicle, or just your way to get around the course, and you can also customize your vehicle as well. You can add things like neon and engine upgrades, so on and so forth, by acquiring money by completing races. When you're on the track racing, you can sideswipe your opponents, kinda like in Burnout 3. And of course, there are a ton of shortcuts to discover when the racing around these tracks as well, that'll give you a bit of an advantage. Each track also has money on the course to pick up, which you can use to buy or customize your cars, and there's 3 keys on each course as well. Now the keys are pretty cool because they unlock even more vehicles that you can only get by getting the keys, and you're not going to get all of the keys on your first playthrough of a course, so the replay value can be pretty high. Couple that with the fact that once you replay these courses, if you get something like the best time, you can actually get more money. There is a good bit of replay value if you want to unlock everything that the game has to offer. The racing itself honestly feels really good because it's just, well, absolute chaos. Now that sort of ties back to the way that the courses are designed, with all the fun things to look at, all the crazy weather effects, and just the stuff being destroyed around you that's happening on the course when you're driving in real time. Now each vehicle does have its own stats, and they do somewhat feel different from one another, mostly in areas of like the speed and handling department. Also, the weight thing is pretty noticeable too, because if you're on like a motorcycle, it's definitely a lot harder to sideswipe someone off of the course than if you're in something like a Hummer. There's also boosts around the tracks that you can hit on the course to go a bit faster, and drifting in the game will also give you a speed boost to whiz past the competition. Now aside from the single player experience, there's multiplayer with multiple Nintendo Switches or just one Nintendo Switch and local multiplayer. Unfortunately, there is no online in this game, which is honestly kind of a bummer, as I think online leaderboards at the very least would have been cool to see different things like the time trials, but I guess it is a budget title at $40, so I can't really hold it up to the $60 games. Now, I didn't get a chance to play any of the multiplayer stuff, but I'm sure it's just as chaotic as the single player, if not even more so since you're playing with real people in the same room as you. Now, as far as the performance of the game is concerned, Cruis'n Blast is honestly really good. I think the game itself looks really nice. The vehicles all look pretty cool. There's tons of great effects that you see. Of course, the courses definitely play into that as well, the destruction happening around you, and most importantly, there's a great sense of speed in this game as well. And what's most impressive is all of this is happening at 1080p 60 frames per second in dock mode and 720p 60 frames per second when in handheld mode. And really, that handheld mode doesn't miss a beat at all. I actually am really looking forward to playing this game on the Switch OLED because I think it's going to look so good on that screen, and the 60 frames per second will definitely pop. Now, I meant to capture the footage you're seeing here in 60 frames per second, but honestly, I'm an idiot. But just trust me on this, the gameplay is buttery smooth, even with all the chaos and all the cars on the screen at once, and I never experienced any slowdown no matter what was happening. The music is honestly pretty good as well, with mostly generic tunes on the track of a bunch of different genres such as techno and rock, but the intro song of the game is just great. If you remember, Cruis'n USA had the classic Cruise on, yeah, the USA, whereas this game has Let's Go Cruis'n. That was terrible, I'm so sorry, but it's a very addictive song and it will definitely get stuck in your head. Vehicle sounds are mostly good as well, but they didn't do a specific sound for the Triceratops when you're racing as him, which was honestly kind of disappointing to me. He just sounds like a vehicle, and I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. And yes, you can race as a Triceratops in this game. So what don't I like about the game? Well, besides the fact that there's no online, which is definitely a disappointment, I do think the game can be very challenging. Now, when you play the game initially for the Cruis'n Tour mode, you can either choose easy or normal. So since I'm a veteran of arcade racing games, I picked normal. And honestly, getting gold in normal was pretty challenging. Once you get into the hard difficulty, it's like damn near impossible unless you're leveling up your vehicles and getting very lucky on the race course and just having the right amount of boost. So if you don't like extremely challenging games, you might get a bit frustrated with Cruis'n Blast. But for me, it was cool because it just sort of gave the game additional replay value, but it is something that I wanted to mention. Overall though, Cruis'n Blast surprised the hell out of me. Like, I thought it would be cool, but I definitely didn't expect to enjoy the game nearly as much as I did. Like, when you're playing the courses for the first time, you just get this big stupid grin on your face at just how ridiculous these courses are laid out, and it's definitely a testament to just how much fun an arcade racing game can be. I think Cruis'n Blast is a great win for Nintendo Switch owners. I think if you're an arcade racing fan, this is a day one buy. I got a review copy of this game. I went ahead and bought a physical version of this game as well because I want to support projects like this that I actually really enjoy, that I think are really fun, and that might fly a bit under the radar. So is Cruis'n Blast kick ass or suck ass? I mean, it's pretty damn clear. This game kicks ass, and if you're a racing fan, this game definitely needs to be in your Nintendo Switch library. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I didn't feel like being on camera because, I don't know, I just didn't feel like being on camera. So let me know what you think of Cruis'n Blast in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, share it around. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. I'm going to play more Cruis'n Blast. Later.